Good afternoon, and welcome to BBC Two.
Hello and welcome to Back to the 80s, a podcast that travels back through time in a rose-tinted DeLorean. And yes, it's happened. We're there. We are into December. We're actually in November, but we're recording this for December. This will be the first week of December when it goes out. So, Christmassy.
Yeah, I know you've been looking forward to this. You look forward to Christmas, don't you?
No, I hate it. I'm the least Christmassy person I know. He lied. I haven't got my desk at work all Christmas up. And I've been listening to Christmas songs for the last month. Not me. I think
what's the first thing you do at Christmas?
What do you mean, the first thing how do I know it's Christmas sort of thing?
Yeah, in Ben's house.
It would be starting to listen to Christmas songs.
Oh.
I'm here with Claire Vaughan, by the way.
Joy.
If you wondered what that voice was, it's Chapter Arts' very own Claire Vaughan. She's back on the podcast to amaze and astound is the word I'm looking for. Amaze and astound us.
Perhaps.
I was going to say annoying, and I thought, no, I bet not.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be some of that, yeah.
Oh, always. I mean, come on now. It's what we do. But yes, that's sort of Christmas songs, I think, is probably the first thing. I always listen to Christmas songs throughout the year, especially if it's rainy days. Me and my love, we do that a lot. But, yeah, that's probably the first thing. And then it's starting to tinsel up work. And then it's starting to tinsel up everything else. So yeah, I think we need it this year. This year's been unremittingly shit.
I think really, especially because, like, was it the start of this year or was it last year that Bowie died? Everything's blurring into one horrific thing now.
It started 2016.
Christmas.
Yes, that 2016 that was. Or the start
of taking decorations down and people dying.
I think it was Lemmy was the first one in 2016.
Yeah.
Then Bowie was early 2017, and it also went downhill from there. It's been a different kind of thing this year. It's been like, do you like this person? Ha ha! They've done something fucking awful.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's been a latest one as well. There's another one because Al Franken apparently. Although this one,
no.
This one, I don't know. I don't think it's. This is it something bad or something stupid? And I think it's come down on the side of something stupid at the moment. He took an inappropriate photo that people do on a daily basis. They take stupid photos of people. It just happened to be with somebody who was taking it very badly.
Yeah,
not putting the blame onto a victim at the moment, exactly. So I'm not going to really elaborate on that and say he's fine, because he probably isn't, let's face it. That's been the way it is. Oh, he probably just did this thing. No, it turns out he's murdered and sort of murdered hamsters and stuff as well. So,
Speaking of murdered hamsters, there's a lovely Michael Haneke film out for Christmas. With murdered hamsters as well. So, that's
brilliant.
Christmas in chapter this year. Murdered hamsters.
Brilliant. Could be a double feature with The Star, which sounds like the worst film in the world. Tell you what, let's make a Christian animation. Oh my word. And let's get the most Christian people in it. I was like, oh, like Patricia Heaton, because she's not a fucking bitch on wheels or anything. Oh my word, it looks so bad. But there you go. Claire.
Hello.
How have you been?
Yeah, I'm alright. I'm also looking forward to Christmas. This year has been also very busy, as it is every year in chapter, and I get finished on the 9th. On the 9th of December, I don't have any events till after Christmas.
Blimey.
And it's been, it's you know, in chapter it's kind of like events at least every week.
Yeah.
And so, like, I actually get to start thinking about just being in my house, putting my Christmas decorations up. Yeah, I'm very excited about Christmas.
Yeah, we're doing that next week. Because we won't get a chance otherwise, because we're away the week after, the 24th. We're away the 1st of December and that. And then, week after that, Bad Film Club, I think.
Yeah.
The Christmas special. And then it's Christmas.
Yeah.
So, it's unacceptable to do it in the middle of December. So we will do it.
Yes.
For first week, the last week of November. But what have you been up to this week specifically? Anything interesting?
Oh, well, last week I was travelling the UK. So I went to Manchester and Hull.
I apologise for that.
It was my first time to both cities properly, although both of them, when I was younger, because of the House Martins, I desperately wanted to live in Hull. Because I was an 80s House Martins fan. And so I was all excited about Hull, and it was a bit bleak.
Yes.
But, I met some nice people, and it was the City of Culture things there, and so it was lovely to see local people getting really into that. That was cool. But and then Manchester is suddenly like the coolest city ever. It was like being in New York in the 80s. It was amazing. It was like everybody was excited, and everything was like kind of, you know, shiny and but grimy at the same time. It was very exciting being in Manchester.
They spent a lot of money on Manchester. I remember it was just grimy when I was there at university. It wasn't the nicest place in the world to live. It was starting. You could see them sort of getting ready to regenerate it, but it wasn't quite there yet. It's been about 10 years. Must have been at least 10 years since I've been, so I can't really say what it's like now, but it was getting there. It was sort of Oasis time as well, so it was kind of exciting back then as well. A lot going on, which was nice. Hull. I grew up near Hull. I have family who are from Hull. Hey?
I didn't realise you were from Hull. That's
no, I'm from York. I grew up 45 minutes away from Hull, half hour away. I did work in Hull for a couple of nights. Was threatened with a dirty AIDS needle. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do forgive me if I don't like Hull. That's the reason why. I used to work in a shop, and somebody was stealing bacon and cheese, because that's what people steal from shops, because it's easily sellable and it's quite expensive. And I said, don't do that. And they said, get out my effing way, or I'm stabbing you with this effing dirty needle. And it's like, be my guest. Steal what you want. Even if it isn't, I aren't taking that risk.
It's so, not worth, bacon's not worth it.
Nothing is worth it. And I got a disciplinary for that from the company I worked for back then. Fuck you! And I can say that because that company doesn't exist anymore. It was a company called Jackson's. Come at me, Sainsbury's local, which is what you became. So yeah, I'm not the world's biggest fan of Hull. I'm sure it's a lovely city full of lovely people, but I'm not a fan. But other than that, what else you been up to?
We've got just like really, you know, packed stuff going on at Chapter. So in Chapter we've got we're doing Films and Castles this weekend. So we've got Young Frankenstein and the new Beauty and the Beast, and amongst other things. So so we're just gearing up for that. That's always really lovely. You've got like very excited children, you know, running up the bridge and, you know, coming to the castle, and, you know, that's always really fun. And we just had like loads of people in, you know, the way it goes, like famous, you know, like Dennis Skinner came a couple of weeks ago, and that was amazing. He got everybody singing the Red Flag.
Of course he did.
So that was
because of course he did. Why would Dennis Skinner not do that?
Yeah, so it's been a hectic but brilliant month so far.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Ask for me, because, you know, if you're going to be rude and not ask Claire, then that's fine, I'll do it myself.
Well, I was going to your show.
It's fine. It's fine, I don't care. It's not a problem. That's fine. I'll do it myself. To be fair, I haven't been up so much this week. It's that time of the year where you don't buy things for yourself. Because stuff might be getting bought for you, because it's Christmas and stuff, so you don't buy anything. But I am very excited this week, because it is Justice League week. And I don't care if the critics haven't liked it, because it appears to be completely split down the middle. People liking it or they're not liking it, which is pretty much what I expected. There never is universal like, especially for this type of movie. And they will slag DC off more than they will Marvel, because Disney have a habit now of shutting you down if you slag anything off of theirs. Ask the LA Times.
Yeah.
Who were banned from everything Disney, and they threatened to ban them from things like Star Wars and all that as well. So I think people are a bit wary of messing with Disney. So I don't know. Yeah. But look, I'm kind of done with what critics think. At the end of the day, it's just their opinion. I'm either going to like it or I'm not. The real crux of it actually came the other day when I looked at Rotten Tomatoes and saw that Home Alone 2's got something like 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. Home Alone 2. It's like one of my go-to movies. One of my favourite. It's like, what? Everybody hated it, apparently. It's like, what? No. But there you go. The only thing I will say about Justice League is that they keep trying to fake outrage the movie to people for their own little. Because have you heard the latest one?
No, I haven't seen this one actually.
Right. The latest one is, you know, in Wonder Woman, you've got the Amazons, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of like big, tall, powerful women, right?
Yeah.
And most of the time, they're not wearing armour, right?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
They're not wearing full armour. They're wearing that sort of leather training armour.
Why would you? You're on an island. You're not being attacked. You're just, having a good time. I'd wear like a big dress, probably a big gaping dress, like Homer Simpson. That's what I would wear if I was on an island.
And some of them do. Then the other ones, the more martial types, if they're not teachers and whatnot, they sort of chill out in the leather training armour that Diana was in, and that a lot of them were in when they were just mucking about, right? There's a picture come out of some of them dressed like that. And the fake outrage came with, that was designed by a man. And therefore sexism, because they're looking all sexy and stuff. And it's like, are they? Or are they just chilling out in leather armour?
Oh, really? So it wasn't even a thing?
It was just a picture. It was just a picture of them chilling out on set. And may I just say, male feminist, this was, that identifies as male feminist, says this, that this was awful and they're being sexualised, and a lot of people have gone, huh? Are they? Are they being sexualised? And the women themselves, who were shouted down by this guy, by the way, the women themselves said, well actually, we're kind of glad to be wearing this because the armour's all well and good, but it chafes and it pinches your skin and it's kind of uncomfortable. So, we were doing fighting scenes in the leather armour. It was alright, actually. It was quite freeing. We enjoyed it. How dare you? You're against women, blah, blah. It's like, mate, these girls can probably fold you into the shape of a pretzel. I wouldn't push it if I were you. So.
Yeah, I haven't seen, I must admit, I haven't been catching up with Justice League. I don't really, I've not really been paying attention to it. Because the Ben Affleck is the Batman has kind of thrown me a bit, and I'm not really, so I haven't really paid attention to any of them, I'm afraid. So I do like Wonder Woman.
Well, everyone likes Wonder Woman. Again, with the Ben Affleck thing, I think we're in a weird place at the moment because the editor of Gay Times has just been sacked for tweets he did 8 years ago. Zoella is in trouble for tweets she did back in 2009. I think the problem is people once, or at some point in their lives, are young and stupid and do stupid things. Sadly, we're in an age now where everything you do is recorded and everything you do has a digital footprint. And if somebody doesn't like you 20 years down the line, can pick up that digital footprint and say, you're an awful person because XYZ and I can prove it. And I don't necessarily think Zoella is a racist or a classist, and I don't necessarily think the editor of Gay Times hates people as much as they're making out that he does. And I don't necessarily think a lot of the stuff that is coming out, like Jason Momoa's rape joke, I think it was just a stupid joke he shouldn't have told, rather than him being a systemically horrible person.
Oh, I'm so behind the times. I don't know.
He was on a Comic-Con panel 6 or 7 years ago when Game of Thrones first came out, and they said to him, "What do you enjoy?" And he said, "Oh, well, I enjoy, going around raping and pillaging and all that kind of stuff." Because that's what his character does in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh no, 7 years later, he's an awful person and a rape apologist because he told a stupid joke." That, they shouldn't have told at the time maybe, but don't condemn people. People, it's literally turning into a witch hunt, and I was really scared that it would. And it's like, people are now scared to do anything. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Maybe it isn't. But people aren't having the conversation.
I think they should have been a bit scared to reboot Batman and Spider-Man again. Like 2 years after the previous films came out. I don't know. I think for me it was just I didn't get involved in the Justice League and the Spider-Mans because I was just I wasn't ready. I wasn't anticipating anything.
I think it needed to happen with both. I think Spider-Man it worked because it needed to happen. Marvel needed to get on board with Spider-Man, whereas they hadn't been previously.
Yeah.
They needed to get it. They didn't need to do an origin because they didn't, and that was good. It's just a Spider-Man film.
Yeah.
With Batman, the problem with Nolan's Batman is that they aren't comic book movies, they're crime dramas.
Yeah.
So you couldn't have brought that Batman into what is now the DCEU. You couldn't do it. It's too fantastical. Yeah. So you needed to bring it, and I think Affleck is the right choice, and I think he is a good Batman. I don't think he should be the focus. They maybe shouldn't do Batman movies. They should just do what they do with the Hulk and bring him in as and when needed.
Yeah, because I've watched the stuff with the Hulk, and that's been quite... Yeah, I like the fact that we've done the Hulk, in a way. A few years ago there was lots of Hulk stuff, and we don't need lots of other Hulk movies. Just like I say, with Superman and Batman, I don't really... it feels like I don't need to be told that story again.
We had Man of Steel. I think we had Man of Steel, we had Batman vs Superman. I am looking now for a brighter Superman when he comes back. And spoiler alert, he's coming back. It's the worst kept secret in Hollywood. Plus we're going to get Aquaman, we're going to get The Flash, we're going to get another Wonder Woman movie because they've said now 2019 is definitely when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Which is great. And also she kicked Brett Ratner's ass this week. I don't know if you...
Yeah, I know. Wasn't that wonderful?
That.
The fact that it was just finally having some power, you know what, if you want another Wonder Woman movie with me, you've got to kick out this horrible arsehole. And they were like, oh, all right then. And it's that's probably one of the first times in all of Hollywood history that's happened. So, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Best thing about that is that Ratner's been an arsehole for fucking years. It's one of the revelations that Brett Ratner's a sexual pervert and a pest. Really? You do tell? You surprise me. It's no. He's always been an arsehole, let's face it. If they can do the same with Michael Bay now, please, and stop him making movies, that'd be great. But anyway, Justice League coming out, I'm very excited, and we'll see how it turns out. Apparently, Wonder Woman's in it a lot, so I'm very happy about that, because she's all types of ace, is Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
There's a especially good bit, it's in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything, but a bank robber or a terrorist sort of hits her in the back of the head with the stock of his gun, and she just goes, "What the fuck was that?" and then punches the shit out of him, which is great. But anyway, we're going to be talking about, I was going to say a Christmas film. Is it a Christmas film, or is it a film set at Christmas? We shall debate this. We shall debate this.
Yeah.
In a minute.
It's interesting, because just out of curiosity, what do you remember what your 80s Christmases were like? Do you have...
Oh yes, we shall be talking about that.
Yeah.
We shall talk that into. I want to get the answer out of the way first, and then we can
Okay, fair enough.
really dive into it and do this thing. But the answers this week, they are from Channel 4, from the 2nd of December 1986, and curiously enough, they're not very Christmassy. Now, I don't know whether I have a feeling that this is because Christmas in 1986 didn't really start until sort of the 2nd or 3rd week in December. And it is indicative. Yeah, it's just indicative of the sign of the times that we're used to it being Halloween, then Christmas. And I don't think it was like that back in the 80s so much. But we'll debate that in a minute. But, the first advert is it's the video coming out from Channel 5 videos from Woolworths, of all places, for, the producers coming out on video for the very first time, which is all kinds of awesome. That's a great film as well, the Mel Brooks producers film. And then, another thing they used to do at Christmas, they used to sell music tapes of the television. This one's for Simple Minds, for their Revolver album at the time. That was a mistake, naming it after a Beatles album, wasn't it?
Yeah. I didn't remember that at all. I was like,
no.
I had no idea. And like, what a stupid idea to name it. Yeah, to name it after that. It's like, like just like the Beatles, yeah, just like the Beatles, yeah. All right then, Jim. It's
not even if it's just a sort of workaday Beatles album. It's kind of one of the big ones as well, isn't it? Yeah. But never mind. And then it is for the Rover 1.3 and 1.6 Rover vehicles, which were rubbish. And then a Skoll advert. Back when Skoll wasn't sort of the cheap brand that it is now, if indeed it still exists. But it was when they were using Hagar the Horrible, the comic strip that was in the Daily Star, I want to say.
Oh, was it?
I think he was in the Star, yes. I remember my granddad getting the Star. He wouldn't get the Sun, because he didn't agree with the pictures of nudie ladies. And Starbirds, I don't think were nudie most of the time. They were just bikini-ish. And he didn't have a problem with that so much as the boobs. He didn't like the boobs. It was disgusting behaviour. Why would you do that? So I used to get the Star. And Hagar the Horrible was in that, I am pretty sure. And then the last advert is awesome. And I wish they still did this. It's for KFC, which I do like. It's for a C60 cassette offer. So you get a TDK C60 cassette with every purchase of KFC. That's cool. And I can use that now because I actually have a boombox with a tape player. So I should go back in time and totally do that. That would be awesome. But anyway, that's the last advert on there. We should be back in a couple of minutes, and then we'll be talking about, like I say, is it a Christmas film or a film at Christmas? We'll decide in a minute. Bye-bye for now.
He-Man is here. I'll be right back.
The Producers is on video at last, and yours forever for under a tenner. From Channel 5 at Woolworths.
People have come from far and wide to see them make their first ever appearance in a Revolver commercial. It's Simple Minds! Once upon a time from Simple Minds, it's just $5.49. Revolver music stores, get there any way you can.
We could suggest that the 1.6 litre Rover will improve your performance. And you probably wouldn't argue. And we could say it will help lead to a quieter life. And you're not in agreement. And we could even claim that the car will do wonders for your social life. And you might be intrigued, but not entirely surprised. However, if we were to tell you that the restyled 1.3 or 1.6 litre Rovers could come to you for less money than a dozen sets of professional golf clubs, that you might find rather incredible. But then, from only £6,790, the Rover 200 series is rather an incredible motor car.
Snert, nip out and get me a can of Skoll. And don't forget the crisps. Skull. Horribly good lager.
You might be interested to know that when you spend £5 at Kentucky Fried Chicken, we'll give you this blank C60 cassette absolutely free. And you'll never know when you'll need a blank cassette, do you? So hurry down to Kentucky Fried Chicken now.
Now back to He-Man and She-Ra.
And we are back. Hope you enjoyed the ads as much as we did. Now, I didn't choose this subject this week. Claire did. So, Claire, the floor is yours.
Wow. I didn't just pick this because we're going to have Zach Galligan coming to chapter on the 6th of December. That's not the only reason.
You're using us! Shameless!
You're a pure tool to me, Glenn. Yeah, it was. It was funny because we talk about 80s Christmas films, and I was like, the first one that popped in my head was Santa Claus the movie with Dudley Moore. That was the first one in my head because I was like, that's what I was watching in the 80s. And then like this went on sale, and I was like, of course, Gremlins, of course. It's like the one I always go back to every Christmas. This and Scrooged are the two films I regularly go back to every single year. And so I don't know why that wasn't in my head, but yeah, I mean it's interesting because it was actually released in the summer in the States.
Yeah,
the release date was Christmas here, but you know how it used to be in the olden days when you know one country could release a film and you wouldn't see it for months because there wasn't piracy and there wasn't like the internet.
The internet, yeah.
Yeah, so it had a summer release in the US, which is really interesting because apparently it was like they were like, you know, the company was like, oh yeah, it's a big blockbuster, you know, family film, but then it's like, so we'll release it in the summer because they were so rigid about their release dates. But then of course when it landed, and everybody was like, yeah, but this is a Christmas film. Why are we watching this in the searing heat of the summer? And there's all these, you know, Christmas houses. So, yeah, it is a funny one. But, yeah, I mean, because it's, you know, I really love the fact that it's about an unwanted Christmas present in a way, or a Christmas present goes wrong. You know, it's, yeah, I mean, I think it's brilliant. I mean, like I say, I do watch this every year. And did you know the Welsh connection with Gremlins?
Oh, no, what's that one?
Genuine Welsh connection. So, Roald Dahl kind of came up with Gremlins.
Of course he did.
So back in World War II, of course it was World War. It's not that old. Back in World War II, when he was a pilot, and because his family was from Norway.
Yeah.
And he said it was a story. It was based on some sort of folklore of Norway, but I think that's pretty much been rubbished. I think it was just something he came up with. But like, so when they were up in their aircrafts and things were going wrong, like, you know, just mechanical things, like random errors, he used to say, oh yeah, there's little gremlins, little beings, you know, who are mischievous and get on the aircraft and start undoing bolts and stuff like this. So we started like kind of doodling these little creatures and sort of like telling friends' kids these stories. I think there was one friend's kid whose his dad had died in the war or something, so he was like, oh, it was the Gremlins that did it, you know. Right. So he sort of made up these stories about Gremlins, kind of created his own little folklore, and then he was posted to Washington as a spy, which is amazing. And he was very good at parties, apparently, not very good at spying, but quite good at entertaining people at parties. And somehow Walt Disney kind of heard about this idea of the Gremlins, and so they started working on like a Gremlins like cartoon together. So he, you know, for Dahl, he was quite he quite liked the idea of being in the movies.
Yeah.
At that time, so he went down to LA and started working quite closely with them. But then peace broke out, so they decided not to do it anymore because they were doing all these propaganda films. So they made it into a book instead. So apparently Chris Columbus remembers reading the book when he was a kid, because there's just like a picture book of Gremlins, and there was a Bugs Bunny cartoon version of it, like a very short one.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, so but yeah, and that's pretty much it. So so it kind of like, but this idea of kind of like the Gremlins and the, you know, that's what happens when something goes wrong. It's because it's not just human error. It's like these, you know, these. Well,
you've got the Twilight Zone, haven't you? The one from the 60s with Shatner with the Gremlin on the wing.
Yeah, so that was an adaptation. Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. I think
that's the one. And they did it with, was it John Lithgow in the film? I think it was Lithgow.
I've been, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was. It's been a long time since I've seen that film. But it's definitely Shatner on there. The Gremlin! Tell the wing! So yeah, that is epic. If anyone's ever seen that, it's great. But yeah, alright, I didn't know it was, I thought Gremlins were a thing that sort of always been sort of like a folklore thing, so that's interesting to hear. But,
yeah, it's quite, you know, because he did like telling tall tales, and often he'd sort of get things and he'd be like, oh, this is from here, this is from there. But actually because of course, you know, these days people properly study Dahl, and nobody's found anything in folklore, so they think he did just make it up. You know, like obviously the idea of there being sprites and pixies and elves and stuff.
Yes, that's naiads and stuff like that. That's old, isn't it? But these specific ones. Yeah. Interesting.
But these ones are Dahl, but which is really funny. But yeah, so it's you know, and of course you got that fantastic you know, older guy in Gremlins, you know, sort of like, you know, grizzled old man, be like, oh, the Gremlins in the war, you know. So that's the kind of nods they've got in the film to Dahl. But like, there was a bit of, when the film was first released, there was a little bit of, I think they didn't want to pay rights to anybody. So there was like, oh no, I've never read this. This is a completely different story, and it's like nothing to do with that. You know,
yeah, there was Joe Dante, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think later on they kind of admitted, well, yeah, obviously.
Well, yeah, but we're not going to say that then.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, of course, Chris Columbus would have had something to do with it. It's a successful children's property, or is it children's property? It kind of is and isn't at the same time. Yeah. I remember it being a 15 when I was a kid on video.
Well, it was up until fairly recently, because we went to screen it. Oh god, it was maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. We were looking at like sort of doing some children's films in Chapter, and I was like, yeah, Gremlins. So we went ahead and booked Gremlins with the film distributors, and we actually had it in. You know, we had the film, and it turned up and it was a 15, and we were like, what? Oh no! So we suddenly had to like take out. Well, not take. I don't think we took them out, but we suddenly had to like. They were the family slot of screenings. We had to put something else on as well, because we was like, you know, we can't have any. And it was like, I was really surprised, because obviously, you know, watched this film loads of times when I was a kid. But then, like, yeah, BBFC have done a new rating now, and it's a 12A.
Yeah, which is basically added. It's like a PG. You just have to have an adult with you.
Yeah.
Because kids are stupid.
But yeah, like, and I was totally shocked. So that there's a few, but apparently it could have been darker as well. A few things I took out of it. That I was reading about apparently Billy's mum's head is apparently she gets decapitated at one point, and when the Gremlins are going crazy, and apparently it was supposed to bounce. The head was supposed to bounce down the stairs into Billy's hands, which I think is lovely. Like, I really wish that had happened. And the one where the Gremlins in the microwave, apparently that was it. That was essentially it. It was the microwave. Was that they were like, you know, if we have this as a lower certificate, kids are going to put things in microwaves and like their cats or something and blow them up.
Yeah, which suggests to me that it has happened. When they do die, it's not just somebody coming up with the idea, because normal people don't come up with that idea. It's usually something has happened like that, and they're doing it for that reason. I mean, it should be no surprise that there are horror elements in it, because Joe Dante's film before Gremlins was The Howling.
Yeah.
Which is an awful film, by the way. It's just the worst. It's not as bad as its sequel. You ever seen that one?
The Howling 2.
Sturbo werewolf bitch with the man I love more than anybody else, and it's not Christopher Lee. Not who you think. It's Red Brown. I love Red Brown. He stars in some shit. Anyway, enough of Red Brown. He should have been in this. But yeah, the basic story is that, an struggling inventor, visits a Chinatown antique store in the hope of finding a Christmas present for his son. He encounters in the store a small furry creature called a mogwai, which is Cantonese, I do apologise, for monster. The owner refuses to sell the creature to Randall because, it's too dangerous, he says. But his grandson, Mr. Wing's grandson, secretly sells the mogwai to Randall, giving him 3 important rules that he must never break. Do not expose the mogwai to bright lights or sunlight, which will kill it. Don't let it get wet. And never, ever feed it after midnight. And of course, when Billy the son gets this, he immediately does all 3 of those things.
Quite quickly.
Yes. Pete, Billy's friend Pete, spills a glass of water over Gizmo. 5 more mogwai spawn from his back. But they're more troublemaking, especially one who's quite aggressive called Stripe. And then they do feed them after midnight because they're idiots, let's face it. They make cocoons, as does everybody's mogwais. They hatch and they emerge as mischievous reptilian monsters called, gremlins that torture Gizmo and try and murder Billy's mother. And Hanson is killed by his gremlin. So, that's the basic story. Then they have to deal with all the gremlins because they're assholes, basically. It's a great Christmas film. I always remember it being on at Christmas. Number 1, it was released at Christmas. Number 2, it's always on telly at Christmas.
Yeah.
It was. These days, obviously, with things like multi-channel and bollocks and all that, all these films are on all the time.
Yeah, yeah. But and it also has the greatest, one of the greatest Christmas moments in film, where Phoebe Cates is telling the story of how her father died, which is like, because it's fantastic. They weave all these fantastic urban legends in. Obviously, Gremlins itself, themselves are kind of urban legends in a way. But yeah, and like, my father was, and it was just like, it's so amazing that you have this Christmas film with like this dark tale about this girl and the reason why this girl doesn't like Christmas. But she just does it so perfectly.
That's an interesting thing though, because it doesn't happen so much now, but certainly in the Victorian era, that type of story, like a ghost story, you told ghost stories at Christmas. That's where A Christmas Carol comes from. It's a ghost story.
Yeah.
It's been morphed into this, it's a redemption of a man. That's Carol. Dickens didn't write it as this redemptive story that it's become. He wrote it as a scary ghost story.
Yeah. It's like all the M.R. James stories, like, the reason why we always have, we always have something like that at Christmas. BBC usually, trying to keep up the tradition of doing it. But yeah, exactly. It's it's meant to be like you're all gathering round, and you're all cozy, and you're all ready for all the lights indoors, and all the families around, and you're telling each other some really dark, horrible tales. It's perfect.
It's a weird dichotomy, is what it is. It's a juxtaposition. He says, using a big word.
Yeah.
Just all about the BBC. They did do a really good version, not the best version. That's the 60s version. But they did do a good version of Whistle and I'll Call You, with John Hurt a few years back.
Yes. Yeah, it was really
the 60s version's better with Michael Horton, because it's scarier. And I still don't know how they did the effects in it. And that, to me, scares me more. But there you go. Had some great people in it, as you said, the Zach Galligan, who will be at Chapter Art soon. Phoebe Cates, who I don't know, I never really warmed to Phoebe Cates in anything.
Really?
It's because she's just sort of there. She's alright in Gremlins, but after that her career sort of drops off, and she was in Drop Dead Fred and kind of needn't have been. Because she doesn't really do anything in Drop Dead. Obviously the focus in that film is clearly supposed to be Rick Mayall.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because that's the whole point of the film is Rick Mayall. And that's great. But she could have done a bit more than she does in that film.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's also, I think they didn't really know what to do with her, because really got kind of like a really wicked sense of humour. Like when she's allowed to kind of play that kind of broad, less broad, kind of more sort of quiet roles. I think she's really great. See, I remember again in the 80s there was it Lace? There was like some sort of like
Barbara Taylor Bradford.
Yeah, and I remember that her being in that and being really good and thinking she was amazing. I was probably too young to be watching it. I don't really remember much. Apart from the fact that it was a bit sexy.
No, you'll look back on it and you'll watch it again and you'll say, that isn't sexy. Except Jenny Cooper, because all her stuff is filth.
Yeah, pure filth.
Oh, absolute, totally dirty, disgusting filth. I'm trying to think if there's an actress who was Phoebe Cates like around the time that Phoebe Cates was out, because that's usually what happens. Is that you get two actors who are kind of alike and one basically steals the other's career. Case in point, Michael Cera, Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Because Michael Cera basically doesn't have a career anymore.
It's weird. He's kind of doing like the odd. He does more sort of cameos these days than he actually does roles, doesn't he?
Does a lot of voice acting. He was Robin in the Batman Lego movie. He was actually really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to think if there was an actress like Phoebe Cates. I mean, to be fair, Courtney Cox, Winona Ryder.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe Winona Ryder actually is probably a good example of that. I think the trouble is at that time there was a lot of actresses like that though. There was a lot they didn't really give them enough to do in general.
Absolutely.
There was like Elizabeth Shue and stuff like that who was in Adventures of Babysitting around that time.
Was he the one?
Yeah, just lots of, kind of, they were never a proper lead role in anything, and so you must just get a bit bored of just being the girlfriend or the one who's, kind of always a straight person to the Rick Mail.
That was Elizabeth Shue, wasn't it? Because she was bloody what's his face's girlfriend, Ralph Macchio's girlfriend in.
Oh, Back to the Future, yeah.
Well, she wasn't Back to the Future. She was also in Karate Kid.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
The original one. Back to the Future, she was only in that because the girl who played Marty's girlfriend in that, I think she had to look after her parents or something, or her parent died or something. Because otherwise that would have been her big break, but she couldn't do it, and they never asked her back, basically. Yeah. She couldn't do the second one, and they said, well, we don't really need you to do the third one, we've got Elizabeth Shue. So it's like, that's really unfair, but never mind.
But that's the thing. It's like, I mean, it's less so these days. Although obviously it is a bit of a struggle. But I think it must have been quite boring to be an actress, sort of a young actress in the 80s, where in general you're kind of like, oh, look at that crazy guy, he's doing something really exciting over there, and you just like roll your eyes quite a lot. Which is kind of generally what happens. Yeah,
which is interesting. That didn't happen in Beetlejuice. Because you've got Beetlejuice being Beetlejuice, but Lydia Deetz is actually one of the most popular sort of female characters of that era.
Yeah.
Because she got a lot to do as well.
She is given more to do. She's given more of a personality in general around that, and they give her more time to kind of be a character in herself rather than just being like, oh, I'm reacting to things. Oh, look at me reacting,
No, Lydia was ace. I'm not going to lie, one of my first crushes as well.
Oh.
My first proper, hello. One of those type of awakening crushes. That's just like, hello. And Winona Ryder still is amazing. I still love her. I'm so glad she's put all her personal shit behind her and she's sort of back with Stranger Things. And yes, get her in more stuff because she's a bit weird and I like her a lot. She's sort of a brand new Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes, and I'm glad she is because, Helena Bonham Carter's just, she doesn't seem to be doing much these days, apart from sort of
counting the money.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, counting the money.
Because, that's what you do when you're old and you don't need to act anymore. Not that she ever did.
Complaining about being pretty, of course.
What's that, sorry?
She was complaining about how it was really hard for her as an actress and other actresses like her because they're so pretty. And Kathy Burke responded.
Fuck off.
On behalf of the non-pretty class of actors, fuck off.
Yeah, right. Cool. See, I knew Kathy Burke would reply with the words "fuck" and "off."
Yeah.
Because that seems to be
I think
her
it might have
thing.
been slightly worse than that as well. I think it might have been something like "fuck off, you cunts."
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, she's foul mouth. She's ace. Well, to be fair, Kathy Burke is in a bit of a privileged position because if Gary Oldman's ever got anything going, she'll be the first person he asks to do it. So, she'll be alright. Plus she's awesome. But anyway, Gremlins. There were quite a lot of, actors in it who were sort of known in the 80s sphere and had 80s things to do. We've got Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I think it was his first role as well, wasn't it?
Just before the Goonies, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because the Goonies is the role that really put him into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
That's the first one that sort of made him really super famous. And rightly so. He's awesome. I like Corey Feldman. We've got Judge Reinhold. Hot off the heels.
Of course he's in this,
Yeah. He's hot off the heels of Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
Which was the year before, and that was the film that sort of put him up. He'd been around years before, by the way, but this is the film that sort of made him. Cameos, you've got Steven Spielberg, because he's producing it. He's listed as man riding recumbent bicycle. Fair enough. Well, obviously, you've got Jerry Goldsmith, who did the music, and did the music for loads of things, like most of the Star Trek films. Chuck Jones is in it, from Looney Tunes fame. Chuck Jones is in it. He's,
I didn't know Chuck Jones was in it. What's he play?
Mr. Jones. Billy's drawing mentor, because, obviously.
Okay. Oh, that's nice.
Frank Welker does Stripe's voice, because Frank Welker.
Yeah.
He does the voices and everything. And, Gizmo is actually Howie Mandel.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Which is awesome.
I was, but also apparently, Michael Winslow, who was, Jones. Did all the voices in Police Academy.
Lavelle Jones, yes.
Yeah, apparently he did a bit of Gizmo as well, of McCoy rather.
Yeah, and some of the other Gremlin voice effects done by a guy called Peter Cullen, who, if you don't know, was Optimus Prime in the 80s and is in all the films.
Of course. Yeah.
The other one I did want to say is Mr. Wing, who was played by Kier Luque. I think it's Kier Luque or Kier Luque. He's a bit of a legend. Even though he had to put up with some shit all his life. He was an actor in mainly the 40s, and he was a Chinese American guy. So he was, he played Lee Chan, who was the #1 son in the Charlie Chan films.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He was the original Kato in the Green Hornet film serials before Bruce Lee took over in the TV series. He was also Brack in the Space Ghost cartoons.
Of course. I love Space Ghost. Yeah.
I like Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Sorry, that wasn't Kier Luque. But anyway, he was also Master Po in Kung Fu. The Grasshopper, the guy called Grasshopper. And he was also in Battle of the Planets. He played Zoltar.
Oh, right.
And that's where I knew him from, because I always saw the name Kier Luque and I wondered who he was. But he would play a lot of baddies, because he basically was an actor in the 40s, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So, him and, who's the other one who played? J. Carroll Nash. He always played Japanese or, Yellow Peril villains, because they were the enemies at the time. And, don't judge too harshly. That's what they did. He got a lot of roles in that, and, he ended up, like I say, Master Po. He was in, a Star Trek episode as well. He was in Star Trek The Next Generation. Tell a lie, he wasn't. He was planning to be. Data's creator, Dr. Noonien Soon?
Yeah.
He was scheduled to play him, but sadly he was very ill at the time. So Brent Spiner took the role over, which kind of makes more sense in universe. Because Soon isn't a very nice person in the same Star Trek, spoilers. So it would make sense he would be an egomaniac and make Data in his own image, basically.
Yeah.
But still, would have been awesome if he had. But yeah, Kier Luque, brilliant actor, lots of good stuff in the 40s. But is it a Christmas film, or is it a film set at Christmas, Claire?
Oh, well, like I say, I think it has lots of. It's a morality tale, isn't it? And
yes.
And we all like that sort of stuff at Christmas. I think that's the thing about Christmas films. I mean, it's you've got the combination of, like we said, this ghost story, and the fact that it's kind of a morality tale. It's kind of, it's that sort of reinforcing of the, the breaking down of reinforcing of the family. Like, if it's not like, conventional family, then that, like Gizmo and Billy become like a family, and in a different way. I think it's, so I think it has elements we can legitimately call it a Christmas film, I think.
It's got that Spielbergian thing of the family you have not necessarily being the family you were born into. Because it's the same thing with Elliot and E.T.
Yeah, exactly.
And going further down the line, and I realised most of the other films didn't really explore this, but the first Transformers movie with Sam and Bumblebee.
Oh, of course,
They did. It's exactly the same thing. As I said, they didn't really. They kind of destroyed that in the later film. But the very first film it's all about that relationship with Sam and an alien, and it's E.T., it's Gizmo, and it's Jaws and Brody. Because he just wants a hug, for God's sake. He just wants a hug. Fucking Brody, stop! Give him a hug. But anyway, but yeah, it's definitely that. It's Spielberg has his running theme through all his films, I think, really. Sort of, certainly his films up until Schindler's List. I would say it's a Christmas film, personally.
Yeah.
It's
I think, I really like, obviously there's, like you say, the Spielberg has his ticks, and like the idea of there being like a dad who's a little bit unreliable. There's this travelling salesman dad, and it's just before Christmas, and he hasn't got his son anything, and it's just like, oh, I'll get something from this random man in in Chinatown, and I'm going to disappear off again, and Billy's, like kind of craving father figures from all over the place, and I think I really like the fact that there's, they always create these. It was really good in the 80s about creating these worlds, and I think that the reason Stranger Things does this as well is like kind of where children have to go off and work. Although Billy's obviously an older child, he's meant to be a teenager, but like where you have to go off and work something out for yourself.
Yeah, adults are unreliable. Rely on yourselves. Yeah. But it's Stand By Me as well, don't they? Which again, Stranger Thing. It's all about the kids taking their role. The Goonies again, same thing.
Yeah. And I think it's harder to do that these days with films. Sort of set something in contemporary times because sort of children are so kind of monitored. And obviously with phones and the internet and things. But
I would say it's the other way around because kids are so independent and do rely on themselves. They don't need adults because they've got their tab.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how crap the Goonies would be if they all had tabs and say, it's over there. I can see it on Google Maps.
Yeah.
Which is why I think Stranger Things is a thing.
Yeah.
When they set it in the 80s, you're getting an awful lot of films set in the 80s. And I don't think it's just 80s nostalgia. I think it is clearly because tabs and phones have kind of ruined storytelling.
Yeah.
I can just look it up on the internet. I don't need to look at this pirate map. It's over there. Look, there you go.
Yeah.
Goonies, that's finished 5 minutes.
But then it's like that idea of like sort of kids going out to play and not coming back till it's dark thing. I mean, that from just my friends have got kids, that just doesn't happen anymore. It's like, the kids go around to somebody's house. So it might be like, everybody goes around to one person's house and they're all in the house and doing something. There's not really kind of like, right, see you later, kids.
Did that actually happen? That's thing.
I certainly did when I was a kid. We lived next to a forest at one point, and I just remember just going out in the morning and coming back, and I was obviously there was no technology anyway, but there was, and it was all of the kids from the village. We were just lumped together, had to get on and play with each other in the forest. And that was kind of what happened, and hopefully nobody broke a leg.
That sounds the worst. Just to me, it's just anathema. It's like, on my own, in front of the telly, that'll do me, thank you very much.
Well, exactly, that's what I wanted to do, and I was kicked out of the house too often.
Oh, no.
And I was like, no, I'm fine, I'm going to close the curtains and watch TV. It's like, no, you're not.
That sounds great. just on my own reading. That's fine. Don't send me out.
But yeah, my friends' kids that live in a really similar sort of position where they're in a village, and it's that just doesn't happen. That would never ever happen in a million years. That the kids all the kids that know each other would just go out and play and come back. It's just it's all very controlled these days.
I think it's because there's more awareness. I don't think there was any less. There's no more or less danger than there ever was. I just think it's awareness. Yeah, exactly. People are aware that there's danger. Whereas back in the 80s, get out of the house, you're annoying me.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like I say, I think that's probably why they're not making movies like The Goonies and setting it now, because it's not really. Was Super 8 in the 70s or the 80s?
Yeah, that was set in the early 80s. Yeah, it was Super 8 cameras, wasn't it? So yeah. They were doing a zombie film, weren't they, and sending it to a festival. Yeah.
You got things like sort of Rambo as well, which I've never seen. And
I mean, they're all good films, but they're
all set in a certain time rather than set now.
Yeah. Like I don't know if you've seen the new trailer for the Jumanji film, but
it looks awesome.
That one, and they've done something really clever with that, because they're trying to reboot it, and so it's the kids are all in a house, but then they get transported to a game. And
the nerdy guy's The Rock, and the jockey's Kevin Hart, and is it the nerdy girl's Karen Gillan? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
And Jack Black's the popular pretty girl, which is really funny.
Yeah. But no, I mean, and that's a really smart way to do it. Cause you've got to give these people an adventure somewhere, but the reality is that they're all going to be in somebody's bedroom playing a game.
But even that's on like an old NES cartridge or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like Tron, I suppose.
Yeah,
kind of Tronish. But yeah, like I say, fantastic idea, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that when it comes out, which is sometime next year, I think.
January, yeah.
It's got The Rock in it. Good enough for me.
Yeah.
He's always good value for money. He's great. He's always good value for money. He's Rocky. But then I used to like him when he was a wrestler, so, there you go.
Well, he's like, like you sort of worry about that the world's going to hell and, and everything's terrible. You're like, but look at progress. In the 90s, you had Hulk Hogan, and now you've got The Rock. It's like, that shows a level of progress. There's a proper arc there, and it's running up with The Rock. I think The Rock is a wonderful thing for humanity to celebrate.
And Dave Bautista as well. I'll put him in there because Drax is one of my favourite Marvel characters in the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Dave Bautista is a genuinely nice person as well. So,
that's nice.
As long as we've got Tom Hanks, everything's okay.
Oh, don't.
No, I can't see Tom Hanks. I just
can't count anybody these days.
No, that's true. Olympus has fallen if Tom Hanks goes, that's for sure. We'll mention that there were and have been allegations of racism against Gremlins. And this is quite funny as well, because it's a guy called Jonathan Rosenbaum has argued that the film presents Gremlins as African Americans. In a book called Ceramic Uncles and Celluloid Mammies. Patricia Turner writes that Gremlins reflect negative African-American stereotypes in their dress and behaviour. They are shown devouring fried chicken with their hands, listening to black music, break dancing and wearing sunglasses after dark and nude boy caps, a style common amongst African-American males in the 80s. I mean, there's reaching, and then there's reaching. That is literally trying to find menacing in somebody's shadow, is that. I ate fried chicken. They must be African American. Come on now. No. I'm not being funny.
Listening to the music of the popular music of the day.
No.
Just really strange.
Well, kids in the 80s listening to hip hop. I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time, so I'm wondering what the black music they're listening to, because if it's something like the Beastie Boys, I'm going to be very, very happy, because that'll be hilarious. And to be fair, I'm not being funny, if it's Roald Dahl based, it won't be African Americans they'll be based on.
Yeah. There's been quite a lot of, it's really hard because, he's not around to where you can ask him properly. And there's jokes that he made that you're not sure. Because he did love winding people up.
It's more a case of everyone at the time had a problem with Jews.
Yeah.
Everybody. It was like fat people today. It was considered okay to make fun of them.
Yeah.
And
but
it's
also,
just the way it was.
The thing about Dahl, because strange enough, I actually have a connection with Dahl. My parents used to live in the village, and my grandparents knew him really well.
Oh, right.
And he was, yeah, and so he was. Yeah, he wasn't a particularly nice man.
No, he didn't like anybody. He hated everybody equally.
Yeah, but the thing is, he did really, really like winding people up. So if he found that something was going to upset somebody, he would niggle and really try to like do it more because people thought, because he liked winding people up in that way.
He made a whole career out of it.
Yeah, so I'm not convinced that he was genuinely anti-Semitic. I think there's been a lot of you're getting upset with this that I'm saying. Oh, I'm going to say it again because what you're getting, I mean, I don't know.
Effectively, an internet troll.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I think it's quite famously he hated children.
Yeah.
I completely agree with them. Monstrous.
Yeah.
Was it Sarah Millican said, "Look, I'm sure your children are lovely, but I'm quite glad they're not here." So I'm totally on board with that. But yeah, I think he just didn't like anybody, quite frankly, which is why if you look at his books and you look at the characters in the books, he wasn't much of a fan of people. No. Didn't have much faith in people at all. And nobody's ever really pointed out the fact that, The Witches is one of the most anti-women books in history.
Yeah, really, yeah.
Every woman you see, every single one of them is out to get you.
Yeah, it was the one that the ones that are childless as well, isn't it? The ones that are childless.
They're the ones.
Yeah.
They're all out to get you. In fact, the person reading this story is out to get you as well.
Yeah.
And guess what? They're a woman. And it's like, come on now. They made a film out of that. But, I think you might be onto something there. I don't think he was particularly anti anybody apart from the fact that he was anti everybody.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that, I really don't think Gremlins are meant to be representing any
they're monsters. They're monsters.
Yeah.
It's sometimes, look, the world can be a nasty, horrible place sometimes. But sometimes something is just something.
Yeah.
Darth Vader is not a negative depiction of black people. He's a guy wearing black armor because the Black Knight from history, if anything, I'm trying to find other famous examples of people. Oh yeah, Skids and Mudflat from Revenge of the Fallen, the Transformers film. Yeah, they weren't particularly negative depictions of black people because one of them, the voice actor was black and he did what he thought was a street gang guy.
Yeah.
That's what they're meant to be. Big Trouble in Little China isn't really having a go at Asian Americans. It's just set in Chinatown.
Mm.
It's easy to see menace in everything, especially these days where everybody sees menace in everything. Some things are what they are.
I tell you what, I can see menace in though.
What's that?
I can see menace in Hollywood, making many different versions of Gremlins, or trying to Leprechaun and Critters.
How dare you? Leprechaun's amazing.
Right there.
Leprechaun's amazing. How dare you? Especially Leprechaun in the Hood.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How that got made, I do not know. But thank you, Will, for doing that.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know how many sequels Leprechaun had. It had many sequels.
Loads, about 6.
And Critters had at least 3 and stuff like that. But yeah, there was so many. That's the thing about Gremlins. I love Gremlins. I think Gremlins is amazing. Gremlins 2 is alright. It's not as good, but it's okay.
Takes us out of Donald Trump.
Yeah. But the fact that there's just seemed to be this so many different terrible versions of Gremlins. It was so obvious. It was pretty terrible. That they're just trying to cash in. But it just, you think about the amount of money that was wasted for sort of 5-10 years everybody trying to make their own version of Gremlins. It was awful.
I don't mind Critters. Critters was okay. Leprechaun, the original's great. There's 6 sequels to Leprechaun. We've got Leprechaun 1, 2, and 3. 4 is in space. Then you got Leprechaun in the Hood.
Yeah.
Then you got Leprechaun back to the Hood.
Back to the... Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Okay. And then you've got Leprechaun Origins.
Origins. Oh, my God.
Awesome.
Origins. This is actually just an episode. This is just Gremlins, but with a different cover, like cover on a DVD or something.
But you get me crack of gold. Critters.
Doesn't he play leprechauns?
Yes.
The leprechauns.
He made a lot of money out of playing that leprechaun as well. It kept him going for a few years. I'm trying to think what else, because there's loads of them. Trolls, Troll and Troll 2.
Oh
my
right,
God.
Yeah.
Oh, they killed her. And now they're going to kill me. Oh my God.
What's the one that Leonardo DiCaprio's in? Was it Munchies or
yes.
Critters?
It wasn't Critters. Oh, it could have been Critters. Or the Munchies. The Munchies.
Yeah.
The Munchie with the Munch Kid. And indirectly, I guess Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh, right.
Because if Gremlins hadn't come out, they wouldn't have done Garbage Pail Kids, because they were looking for the new Gremlins, weren't they? That's an awful film. But then again, it should never have been a film. It was just like trading card thing.
Yeah, it was fine, but it was fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
My imagination was set alight by Garbage Pail Kids, rather. But I didn't need a film telling me about them.
Not really. I could have done without it. It's like, they didn't make a film out of the Panini sticker album of the 1986 World Cup. They actually had the World Cup, but that's by the by. Yeah, there were loads of back. I guess I always think of Tremors as well when I think Gremlins. I don't know why, but I guess in a way. He revitalised Joe Dante's career anyway. I don't think he directed the sequel though. And now somebody else. The sequel does have that guy, I can never remember his name, but the guy who was in the Muppet recent movie as well, who played the Maniacal Laugh, that guy.
Oh God, yeah.
He was the Trump character.
Yeah. What's his name? He was great in Lone Star.
Let's have a look.
Chris Cooper, there we go. I got there.
There you go. Good old Gremlins 2, the new batch. Yes. And what was his name? Daniel Clamp, that's it. Oh no, that wasn't it. He was in it, but John Glover played Daniel Clamp. The amazing John Glover. I love John Glover. He's great, because he's in Scrooged as well.
Oh,
as Bryce Cummings.
Yeah.
He was,
we haven't discussed Dick Miller yet, mind.
No, Dick Miller's good.
The incredible Dick Miller.
Dick Miller's great. Tell us about Dick Miller, Claire. Why you like Dick Miller so much, or why you should like Dick Miller.
Thing, isn't it? It's so Dick Miller used to work a lot with Roger Corman. Pretty much, Roger Corman gave him his entire career. He was pretty much only working with Roger Corman for years. So he was in the original. The film of it, the Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
The original one of those. And he was just always in these B movies. And Joe Dante started his career with Roger Corman. Roger Corman had this in the 70s. There was all these James Cameron and all these future huge directors of the future. And he kind of gave them a start. He was like, well, you're going to get $5,000, make me a film that I can sell, and I'll give you money to make another one. Essentially, was all that he did, and so you can pretty much do it about whatever you like. And so they were making these crazy B movies in the 70s, and then went on to have huge careers. And so Dick Miller's kind of like a throwback to that. But also because, of course, he was in these fantastic B movies, he's fantastic as that sort of grizzled old, man, conspiracy theorist local man who kind of, sort of half saves the day with Billy. And I love Dick Miller. I think he's whenever he turns up in something, you're just like, God, I love the films he's in. The moments that he's in a film is great, and you think he must have had some stories. He must have had some great fun.
It's like, he reminds me of the guy that Tarantino used to work with a lot. I can never remember his name, but he died recently. He died in the last year or so, but he was in From Dusk Till Dawn, and he's an actor's actor. You won't know who he is, but actors will love the guy. And Dick Miller's a bit like that. He was always played sort of grizzled security guards or delivery men. He was in The Terminator. He was the gun store clerk who got shot by Arnie. He says, "Oh, you're going to need to wait 14 days." Wrong.
Yeah.
He was in Small Soldiers as the guy who was the friend of the kid, the delivery driver. Is that guy. You will know his face. You will know him from things, but you probably don't know his name. Yeah. Like Danny Trejo used to be like that. It's like you will know Danny Trejo because he's in everything. But a lot of people for a long time didn't know his name, and again, it's people like Tarantino and that sort of made him famous, as it were. But now he's in his 70s.
God, he's got to be. Yeah.
Yeah, he's something like 74 years old. He's Danny Trejo, but like Dick Miller's like 88 years old. He's been around forever.
He's still alive, isn't he, Dick Miller?
Yeah, he's still alive. But yeah, he's in like Terminator, The Burbs, Small Soldiers. He's been in everything. He's been married to the same lady since 1959.
Oh, blimey, isn't that lovely?
Aww. Yeah. Which is, very, very awesome. But he's like 88 years old, and there's, like I say, he's been in all the Roger Corman movies, and because of that he was friends with Joe Dante and Cameron, so they like putting him in their movies, if only for a bit. They just like him, because he's in The Howling as well. But yeah, I like actors like that. I like to see, it's like, you don't see it as much anymore, but you do see Steve Buscemi will be in every Adam Sandler movie without fail. Doesn't matter the quality of the movie, Steve Buscemi will be in it because he's his mate and he likes working with him. And I kind of like the fact that you'll get this amazing actor in these shitty movies and you don't see it as much as you should anymore. And like we said earlier on, Kathy Burke, Gary Oldman or if he's directing a movie or making a movie, he'll always find something for her to do in that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's kind of nice when you see it's something you don't see as much anymore, but you do see certain directors like having certain people around they will make the same films.
No, it's just really, I think, like I say, it must be a really nice way to be as an actor. Just like going, just spending a couple of days on this film, a couple of days on that film, and you're not necessarily going to go out and see these films, again, but you're having a lovely time with your mates. And you bring in something to the film as well. Like the films are always made a little bit better.
It's Bill Burr's theory of everything, isn't it? Never be the guy who owns the boat. Be friends with the guy who owns the boat.
Exactly.
Then you can enjoy the boat. You don't need to worry about the upkeep of the boat or paying for the boat or repairing the boat. Just get on the boat. Enjoy the boat. Get off the boat. And I suppose that's Dick Miller's career.
Yeah. And all power to him. Brilliant.
Definitely. Final thoughts then on Gremlins. Why do you think it has lasted so long? What do you think its enduring qualities are?
Well, I think Billy's a lovely character. I think he's a proper. It's nice because he's not. He's not yet like he's a teenage boy, but he's not too young. So it's kind of got that crossover appeal for like sort of adults can kind of be like, oh yeah, I remember being that that young. They can still feel a bit of that. So I think Billy's a good age and he's adorable in it. But he's not too adorable. He's just really, it's really well pitched. I think everything in this film is really well pitched. I think Gizmo is perfect. I think what I did with Gizmo. You're right, you're not dying there.
No, I'm okay.
But yeah, I think Spielberg actually went back to he insisted that there was more written with Gizmo in it because they sort of had him on set and they were like, actually, this is incredible. You know, he had this. Obviously, it's a puppet. But having like kind of that character had so like weirdly so much charisma, and that, you know, obviously that's all down to the actors playing with the puppet. But yeah, I mean, so I think that's the thing. It's like there's everything in it is just pitched at the right level. Like I say, you know, Phoebe Cates' like story, you know, which is kind of like, it's black humour enough. It's, you know, they don't take it too seriously. You know, it's like I say, I think everything in this film is just kind of, it is one of those things where it's magic. It's magic in the, you know, whether that's editing, whether that's, you know, script, but it is, you know, film's collaborative, and it's all these things at once, I think.
There we are. I would agree with all of that. Yeah, I think definitely the fact that it's not too cloying, because it could have been.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could have been easily.
Especially with Spielberg. I think the fact that it's produced by Spielberg rather than directed by Spielberg.
Yeah.
One thing that I always hate about Spielberg's directing is whimsy. And I often think he works better as a producer than he does a director. Unless if it's directing something that ain't whimsical, then he can go quite dark.
Yeah.
Read Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which is really dark, horrible film if you actually think about it too often. But it's something like Gremlins, Back to the Future. They're tempered by the fact that he's not directing them, because they could have gone in an E.T. sort of direction, or God forbid, Hook. Which is not a film that has stood the test of time, I don't feel.
No.
Which is a shame, because Robin Williams is quite good in it, but I do think it's not the best film in the world these days. Yeah. But anyway, Gremlins is, you know, the fact that it is tempered by Joe Dante, who was, lest we forget, a horror director.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's that combination of the two things, isn't it? It's the combination of him being a horror director and having that, you know, him wants to make a darker film, and Spielberg kind of pulling him back on it. Yeah,
it really works.
Yeah.
And again, if you actually go back and watch the first Transformers movie, you can see that Spielberg was quite involved in that one, and then he gets progressively less involved in the other ones, because they get more Michael Bay and less Spielberg. Whereas the first one is quite Spielbergian, but with a bit of Michael Bay thrown in.
Yeah.
And it's that thing, you know, it's like, same with Zemeckis and that, because Zemeckis give Zemeckis free reign and you get Back to the Future Part 2, which is a very dark film.
Yeah.
Whereas Part 3, not so much, because I think Spielberg took more of an interest in that one. So yeah, you're completely right with the whole, it's salty sweet. It's like salty caramel of filmmaking.
Yeah.
There we go. Brilliant. Will you be watching it this year, or have you already seen it this year?
I haven't seen it this year yet. No, I'll probably, on the night when Zach Galligan's here, I'll probably be too nervous. But we've got it screening on the Sunday before, so I'll watch it then. I think I'll take a couple of hours and just have a nice time, get myself a nice hot chocolate before, and get all Christmased up. That's my plan.
Well, I can't say I disagree with you on that one. Scrooged as well. But interesting enough, we're going to be talking about Scrooge in the very next episode of Back to the 80s, because that's
I look forward to listening to that one.
Duncan's idea that was, because he said, "I don't think we can talk about it for an hour and a half, can we?" I'm thinking, "Are you mad? Are you mental?" Yes, we can. There's certainly enough information about that film. Again, there's a Superman connection with that one, because Richard Donner directed it.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Also directed Lethal Weapons and The Omen. I know. Yeah. Richard Donner had a weird career, man.
He did. Didn't he do, I think he did Lost Boys. Did he do Lost Boys or something?
No, that's Schumacher, Joel Schumacher.
Right, okay.
Because when everybody brings up the fact, look, Batman and Robin shit, yes, but Joel Schumacher isn't shit. He directed that. He directed Falling Down. He directed Phone Booth. He directed some good films. Batman and Robin, I have a feeling, might have been the subject of some studio involvement. Yes. We need to sell toys, make a shit film. But there you go. But yeah, like I say, we'll be talking about Scrooge next, so tune in for that one next week. Claire,
Yes.
Obviously, you mentioned Chapter Art 31, but is there anything else you'd like to mention? Any sort of Twitter or online stuff that you'd like to mention while you're here?
Well, you can find me at Pixieglass, which is Pixieglas. It's very much views my own type scenario, not representative of Chapter.
No.
But just quite a gobby lady for
No.
Wales. I welcome this Christmas episodes. I think these are lovely things. I don't need to promote anything else. You can all come and see. Still some tickets, not very many tickets for Gremlins. So try and, if you get a chance, come and meet the lovely, adorable Zach Galligan.
No Gremlins though.
Yes. Well,
hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hopefully,
You
no
don't know.
Gremlins.
You don't know what will happen on the night, do you?
Well, he might bring one with him. You never know. And just full disclosure, she's not that gobby. She's not that gobby. She's just got a mind of her own and she wants to use it. That equates to gobby, then okay, fair enough, but you know, it's not that gobby. She's nice, really. She's just a little bit scary, and she's promised not to hit me if I say that. But Claire, been a pleasure. If you want to find us, obviously, and by us I mean back to the 80s, you can go on the official Twitter, which is at BTTEpod. You can go on the official Facebook, which is facebook.com/BTTEpod. You can also find us on the blog, which is back to the 80s podcast.blogspot.co.uk, and the forum, which is back to the 80s.freeforums.net. Me, myself and I, you can find at Cymru Nerd Cave on Twitter, and also Glenn Jakeman on Facebook. Please do send me a message if you're going to try and add me, and then I know who you are. Otherwise, I won't know who you are, and I can't add you, which is fair enough, I think. Again, Claire, it's been a pleasure having you on again. You'll come back on in the new year, won't you?
I hope so.
Talk about something?
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Well, until next time, we will leave you, just to let you know, with a Christmas song. It's going to be The Waitresses with Christmas Wrapping, which is one of my favourite ones.
This is actually my boyfriend's favourite Christmas song of all time.
It's one of mine as well. It's funny, isn't it? Because it's not especially Christmassy, which is weird, but there you go. And we'll leave you with a central close down from the 4th of December, 1986. So nice and Christmassy there. Say bye-bye, Claire.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. We'll be back next week. See ya.
A busy blur, don't think I have the energy. Dread am I already mad rush just cause it's 'tis the season. The perfect gift for me would be completions and connections left from last year. Ski shop encounter, most interesting. Had his number but never the time. Most of 81 pass along those lines. So deck those halls, trim those trees, raise up cups of Christmas cheer. I just need to catch my breath. Christmas by myself this year. Picture frozen landscape, chill this room for 24 days. Evergreen, sparkling snow, get this winter over with. Flashback to springtime, saw him again. Would have been good to go for lunch. Couldn't agree, we were both free. We tried, we said we'd keep in touch. Didn't, of course, till summertime. Out to the beach to his boat.
certainly been a busy night on Central tonight, and I hope you've enjoyed watching. There's a few changes tomorrow night as well, because at 7:30, as a tribute to Cary Grant, we're showing the film An Affair to Remember, in which he co-starred with Deborah Carr. Girls on Top will be later than usual at 10:30, Central Lobby at 11, rounding off with that Master of Terror Vincent Price in Madhouse at 11:30. That's tomorrow night, but now from me, Hilary Holden, on behalf of us all here at Central, a very good night. Good night and sleep tight.